What if the story you remember was just sugar sprinkled on the surface? A candy-coated dream concealing a labyrinth of madness. In 1865, Lewis Carroll didn't just write a children's tale. He opened a trapdoor and unleashed Alice's adventures in Wonderland, a place where logic goes sideways. But what if Wonderland wasn't just a place she imagined? What if it was hiding something? A girl falls down a rabbit hole into a dream world. But what if Wonderland wasn't a dream at all? What if it was a way to show us the madness we live in every day? This is a retelling of the original tale, the version left behind 150 years ago. Just the story as it was, one that will take you on a journey to truly realize what's been hidden all this time. Carroll's Wonderland isn't a place, it's a question, one you were never supposed to answer. Each encounter, fragmented. That wasn't the flaw. That was the point. The book flows like dreams do. No rules, no warnings, and no answers when it ends. That is Wonderland. And now it's time to fall down the rabbit hole straight into the world of Wonderland.
Curiouser and curiouser.
Off with their heads!
We're all mad here.
It all began with Alice sitting on a riverbank. Her sister was reading a book that had no conversations, no pictures. Alice was bored. Then, a flash of white fur. A rabbit, wearing a waistcoat and clutching a pocket watch, muttering about time. To anyone, that would pique interest. And Alice was definitely interested, so she followed. The rabbit vanished into a burrow, and Alice didn't just jump, she hesitated. The hole was dark, endless. It wasn't just a tunnel, it was a void. Her fall was slow and surreal, and in that void, she saw bookshelves, maps, a jar, a descent into the unknown, quiet, eerie, and bottomless. She landed unharmed, but something had shifted. A long hall stretched before her, lined with many locked doors, and this is where her journey began. She should have turned back, but she couldn't. The only way forward was through. The rabbit was gone, and Alice was alone in a dream that might not let her go. She stood in a hall of endless doors with the golden key that she had found. She sipped from a bottle labeled "Drink Me," and her body suddenly shrank until she was no taller than a mouse. The key was now too big for her and was on the table. She was frustrated as she climbed, slipped, and fell. She then ate the cake labeled "Eat Me," and she increased in size to a giant. Overwhelmed, she began crying. Her tears created a pool. She eventually shrinks again by fanning herself with a fan that the rabbit dropped. She swam through her tears till she was joined by various animals, living things, including a mouse, a dodo, a duck, a lory, an eaglet. They were all lost like her. The pool stretched endless. Soon enough they reached land. Alice crawled out, shivering. The dodo declared a solution to help them get dry. "A caucus race!" it cried, with its voice sharp as a whip. Alice was confused. The ground was a circle, marked by sticks and stones. There was no start and no finish. "Just run," the dodo said. "Run until dry." The creatures obeyed, scampering in loops, tripping over roots, colliding in chaos. Alice ran too, legs wobbling, heart pounding. She was struggling. The mouse darted left. The lory spun right. The dodo waddled nowhere. The circle tightened, a whirl of feathers and fur. The dodo asked everyone to stop. No victor, no prize. Yet it rummaged in its pocket, producing comfits like candied bits, scarce and small. Alice received one, a sugar speck for a race without end. She almost drowned, but Wonderland didn't care. It spun her forward into its next riddle. She stood, alone, on the edge of something vast, not knowing the madness that was waiting for her just beyond the shore. Then Alice saw it, the white rabbit muttering going into a cottage. He shouted for Mary Ann. Alice followed. Inside, Alice found a bottle labeled, "Drink me." She drank. Her body surged. Her head burst through the roof. Arms punched through windows. Bill the lizard was sent in to remove her. Pebbles rained through the windows and turned into cakes. She ate one, shrunk, and escaped. Not far off, a caterpillar sat atop a mushroom, smoking. Absurd, yes, but Wonderland thrived on absurdity. "Who are you?" it asked, barely looking up. I don't know," Alice stammered. "Explain yourself." She couldn't. Not after all this falling, growing, shrinking. The caterpillar gestured to the mushroom. "One side makes you taller, the other smaller." Then it vanished into smoke. Alice hesitated. One bite might launch her skyward. Another might shrink her to nothing. So she bit. Her body warped. Her neck stretched sky high. A pigeon shrieked, mistaking her for a serpent. Panicked, she bit again, this time from the other side. Slowly, carefully, she returned to her normal size. But nothing else felt normal. Still, she pressed on, changed, and never quite herself again. Alice wandered deeper into Wonderland's twisted heart. The world didn't bend to reason. It mocked it. There were houses squatted under crooked trees. Alice, who was still reeling from tears and races, pushed open a door, and pepper stung her nose. It was the Duchess's kitchen, and it pulsed with chaos. Smoke in the air, thick with spice and heat. A cook hurled pepper into a cauldron. The Duchess sat in a creaking chair, clutching a baby that cried like a storm. She sneezed, then sang with a voice that was a jagged lullaby. The baby's cries turned to grunts. The Duchess tossed it carelessly into Alice's arms. It squirmed. It wasn't a child. It was a pig, writhing free. It bolted, vanishing. The Duchess muttered,
Everything's a pig here.
Alice was disoriented. Was this a house or a trap? The cook threw a saucepan, and it crashed inches from her head. She ran for her life. Outside, the air shimmered strangely. A grin hovered in the branches of a crooked tree. The rest of the cat followed, slowly taking shape. Striped fur, luminous eyes, and a wide, knowing smile. Alice stepped back, startled.
Would you tell me, please, which way I ought to go from here?
The cat then replied,
That depends a good deal on where you want to get to.
Alice began.
I don't much care where,
Then it doesn't matter which way you go.
Purred the cat.
so long as I get somewhere.
Oh, you're sure to do that, if only you walk long enough.
What sort of people live around here?
In that direction lives a hatter, and in that direction lives a March hare. Both are quite mad.
I don't want to go among mad people.
Oh, you can't help that. We're all mad here. I'm mad. You're mad.
How do you know I'm mad?
You must be, or you wouldn't have come here.
He directed her to the March Hare's house and faded away. Frustrated, Alice started walking again. At the March Hare's house, Alice joined a bizarre tea party. It was a party that reflected the absurdity of a world unmoored from reason. A March Hare, a mad hatter, hat askew, rambled about time. A dormouse snored between them, ignored, drooping into a teapot. Alice approached the table which was set for a crowd, yet only 3 sat, shouting, "No room!" She sat anyway. The hare offered wine. There was none. The Hatter asked.
Why is a raven like a writing desk? Ha 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 ha.
No answer came. They engaged in nonsensical conversations and riddles, and it was revealed that time itself seemed stuck. The Hatter confessed he'd angered time, cursed to live in eternal tea time. 6 o'clock forever. Alice couldn't stay any longer. The Hatter's riddles grew darker. The hare's laughter turned shrill. The dormouse stirred, muttering of danger. Alice shouted,
You're all mad.
but they didn't care. So Alice got out of there. Then came the dramatic symbol of tyranny, the Queen's croquet ground. Alice entered a garden where gardeners were painting white roses red, and they were doing this to avoid the wrath of the Queen. A queen who gets mad because of the natural color of flowers. The court pulsed with menace. The Queen arrived with her court, which included the king and the white rabbit. That's right, the same white rabbit Alice followed down the hole. The Queen commanded Alice to play croquet, and Alice couldn't believe how absurd the game was. Flamingos as mallets, hedgehogs as balls. Playing card soldiers bowed low to be used as hoops. The Queen of Hearts' voice clapped like thunder.
Off with their heads!
Alice clutched a flamingo and tried to play, but she was terrified. Was this a game or a sentencing? Alice swung again, and the Queen screamed.
Off with their heads!
The crowd gasped, and no one moved. But Alice stood her ground. Her voice trembled, but firm.
You're just a pack of cards.
The Queen's face twisted with rage and disbelief. The air was heavy with the weight of defiance. Alice's words weren't just rebellion. They were a crack in Wonderland's spell, a glimpse of a girl reclaiming her mind. The Queen advanced, slow, deliberate. Alice's breath halted as she was scared that this was the end. The Queen screamed.
Off with their head!
The croquet ground was Wonderland's heart, beating with a terror of nonsense dressed as law. Then the hedges parted, revealing a path to deeper shadows. Alice stepped forward, the Queen's roar fading behind her.
Off with their head!
Weary from the Queen's tyranny, Alice followed a path to a rocky shore. A Gryphon, eagle-beaked and lion-bodied, lounged on a boulder, its wings folded, eyes sharp. Beside it, the mock turtle sat. Alice approached them. The Gryphon was amused by her and introduced her to the mock turtle. The turtle sighed. Once I was real, now I'm soup. How was he soup? Alice thought to herself. The Gryphon nudged the turtle to tell Alice his story. The turtle wailed, recounting a life never lived like schools under the sea. Lessons in nonsense. Reeling and writhing, it said. Alice's head spun with confusion as a result of the twisted words. The Gryphon watched, talons tapping. He urged Alice to dance. The turtle sang and its voice cracked, longing for a world that never was. Alice saw it then that the turtle wasn't sad. Rather, it was trapped in a story it couldn't escape. The Gryphon took Alice to the shore, asking her to join the quadrille. The turtle clapped while crying. Alice hesitated because the dance was chaotic. The steps were without order. The Gryphon spun her as the turtle's song grew wild. Finally, the song stopped, and the turtle slumped out of exhaustion. The Gryphon was bored, so he stretched and declared, "To the Queen's court!" Alice followed. Alice stepped into a crowded court. Playing card soldiers stood rigid. The Knave of Hearts knelt, accused of stealing the Queen's tarts. This wasn't a normal trial. Not that anything in Wonderland was normal. In this trial, the Queen liked to decide things fast before anyone spoke a word. The Queen of Hearts roared.
Off with his head.
Alice stood among jurors, which included animals, birds, all scribbling nonsense on slates. The White Rabbit had a trumpet in hand as he read the charge. The evidence was a plate of crumbs, and the knave was pronounced guilty so suddenly. Alice's mind raced. Was this a trial or a setup? Witnesses began to take the stand. First was a hatter, stammering. Then a cook who sneezed pepper. A dormouse who mumbled in his sleep. None of it made sense. The king called it proof. The queen screamed for heads. Jurors scratched gibberish on their slates. It was complete chaos, and Alice saw this too. She boldly stated that this wasn't fair, and that the knave wasn't guilty. Heads turned. The queen's eyes narrowed, locking on her. The knave trembled, a pawn in a game rigged to lose. The court wasn't seeking truth. It was staging a verdict. Alice's hands clenched. Could she stop this? The queen smiled at her, as though daring her to try. The king read the poem aloud, each line more absurd than the last. "He stole them! He stole them!" the queen shrieked. Alice stood taller, her voice cutting through. "You're making it up!" The queen advanced at Alice. The knave's fate hung by a thread about to snap. The trial wasn't just chaos. It was showing how power devoured reason. Guilt was whatever the queen decreed. The queen's scream shook the court. Alice laughed, reckless, bold.
You're just a pack of cards.
The court erupted. Cards flew, a whirlwind of edges. The knave vanished in the chaos. Alice stood with suspense as the dream cracked open. It was like she had finally seen through the charade that Wonderland was. The court vanished and darkness swallowed her. Was she falling again or climbing? Images flashed. Cheshire grin, Hatter's riddles, Turtle's tears. They flickered, fading, like embers in a dying fire. Her hands reached, grasping nothing. The rabbit hole's echo lingered, its walls now distant, crumbling. A light bloomed above, soft and familiar. There were no cards flying, no screams, no queen calling for heads. Just quiet. She was lying on the bank like she never left to begin with. Her sister's voice drifted, gentle, reading from the book without pictures. Her pinafore was clean. There were no tea stains, no paint. Had it been a dream? She sat up, searching the trees for a flicker of fur, a grin without a face. But there was nothing out of the ordinary. Her sister completely oblivious. The world felt small, too still. It was unchanged. But Alice definitely was not. She had changed a lot. Wonderland's chaos had carved her and sharpened her. She'd faced queens, riddles, and herself. The dream was gone, but its weight remained. The question left, what was real? Her sister called her name.
Alice?
She walked on, but Wonderland's memory followed. Reality was no refuge, it was just another riddle, waiting to unravel. And perhaps that was the point all along. Wonderland was a twisted representation of the real world. A world where logic breaks down. Truth bends to power, and the rules are written by those who can change them at will, just like ours. Let me know which story I should cover next, and don't forget to leave a like if you made it this far down the rabbit hole, and go check out our first video covering Alice in Wonderland. Thanks for watching.